what's up, guys? It's Jordan Lovejoy here, back with the No Ramp Required podcast. Today we have Kylee Short on the show from the great state of Florida. And I'll let her start off by introducing herself.
Yeah, how's it going, guys? Great state of Florida. It sounds so nice to say, but it is so hot right now. It's not feeling as great as I would like to. Florida's great all year round because you can fish all year round, but we have like the summer months that are just like brutal. And we're about getting to that point. But thanks for having me on. My name's Kylee. For those that don't know me, social handles Bait Barbie Fishing. I am based out of Central Florida, so I fish in Orlando. I started fishing really just a few years ago, about maybe 3 years ago, um, when I moved to Florida. I moved here and started fishing from the bank. Went with my dad once and just had a blast. So try to learn everything that I possibly could, just from like the most beginner stage as possible, to getting to a point now where I branched out into some tournaments. I fish as a co-angler and some local stuff. I did a few BFLs and then wanted to kind of own the independence of the tournament part of it. I was always into sports and everything growing up and very competitive. So getting into the competitive part of fishing just seemed kind of like a no-brainer. That's when I got introduced to kayak fishing in those tournaments. So that's what I've been doing now. This has been my first full season fishing kayak tournaments. So we're almost to the end of it. Actually, I think I have
It's
my
crazy
last.
to think. I
I
mean, it
know
feels like it just started this year. I feel like they had everything like super compacted into like a couple
they
months.
did. Yeah, yeah. I think I probably overdid it a little bit as far as overcommitting myself to the trails. I was fishing Florida Kayak Bass Trail, Florida Bass Nation. I did one of the Team Kayak series, and then the Bassmaster Kayak Series, three of those events. So it's been a busy year, but it's been fun.
Yeah, and I feel like you talked about the heat of Florida
Oof.
uh, in the summer, but I don't know how Santee felt to you, but at least to me, it felt like it was blazing every day we were down there.
It was blazing. I could argue it felt hotter. I don't know what it was about that sun and the humidity, but it was tough out there some of those practice days. Like it was really rough.
Yeah, and you mentioned that you got into fishing about 3 years ago, kind of starting out from the bank fishing side. How in the world did you find kayak fishing? I feel like it's such a niche thing nowadays.
It really is. So I started fishing from the bank. I got introduced to, I guess, the fishing community, outside of my dad. That was my community getting into it, which is fine. But I got introduced to the fishing community because I started streaming on TikTok. So it was kind of almost like a learn with me thing. I was just going fishing live on my lunch break at work. So I was trying different baits. I'm like taking suggestions from the audience and kind of just built a following in a community of people that were from all skill levels. So people were there learning, some people were there contributing to what they already knew with their experience, and introduced me to some people who fished a local weeknight tournament here on Lake Conway. It's here. Actually, Bobby Bakewell and his dad fished that one. Like that's their area that they're from. So fished that one as a co-angler when I could, when there was space available on a boat. Connected with someone with an online tackle shop who got me a badge to iCast a couple years ago. Went to iCast and I met, if you know, Amy Brown and Wendy Biles.
Hmm.
Met them at iCast and they were like, "You have to do kayak fishing. You have to do kayak fishing." And I was like, "I don't know anything about it." Um, and then ended up talking to somebody at iCast about kayak fishing. And then I would say September, I was in a kayak. And then September, I entered the first tournament that I did.
Amy's awesome too. I run into her all the
Yeah.
time. She's a blast to be around, and just like you have a rough day on the water, you get back to the ramp, she just brightens your day. Just
Yeah.
getting back there.
No, they were great. And I'm glad that they were like so welcoming about it too, because it's kind of intimidating getting into it too. And fishing on a boat is completely different. Fishing at the mercy of the boater and where they go, like you're not in charge of where you go, what part of the lake you're fishing. But when you're in a kayak, it's totally up to you, which is what I wanted. But it's also really intimidating going from these little ponds into these like huge lakes that we have around here. So it was a big leap, but it
And
was.
similar to Santee, you got some giant alligators down in Florida too. I can't imagine kayak fishing was like you. when you first started, I'm sure it was kind of sketchy out there with them
Yeah,
gators.
it was a little bit, but they just kind of leave you be. I would say I haven't, knock on wood, like had any sketchy run-ins with any gators. I just leave them be and they don't come close, and that's fine with me.
Yeah. And I had another question for you. So, how did you get the name Bait Barbie Fishing?
Yeah, I don't really know. I'm not typically the most creative when it comes to things like that. I don't know what it was, and I was just thinking of a social handle on TikTok. I was like, what rhymes with bait? This was also around the time where the Barbie movie came out, and it was
Mm-hmm.
like everything Barbie. So I think it was just fresh on my mind. I was like, boat Barbie, bait Barbie, bass Barbie, just trying to figure it out. I was for sure that bait Barbie had been taken from somebody. And when I was looking, I was like, it's not. So maybe I'll just roll with that. I also wasn't sure with putting myself out on the internet how much of my own identity I was really planning on having out there. I really
Mm-hmm.
think it was like for funsies. I wasn't expecting it to become, the thing that it has. So it was kind of almost not a persona because I've always been myself, but just a way for me to kind of protect how much of my actual self I wanted to put out there for everyone to
Yeah.
see.
And has social media kind of turned into like a part time job for you on the side, or is it your full
Part
time job?
time, part and more like full time. Yeah, it really has. It has really been like having another full time job. I don't think that I would survive doing both if I didn't love it so much because it's a lot. It's really demanding. And I feel like no matter what I'm doing, some area of my life, I'm probably falling short. So, like, I still work a full time corporate job, work 9 to 5, like, single mom. We've got extracurricular soccer, Cub Scouts, all that kind of stuff. And then trying to fit in fishing, practice, tournaments, socials, all on top of that it is a lot to say the least. But if I were trying to take on as much responsibility with something else that I wasn't as passionate about, I don't think I would be able to do it. But I enjoy it enough that that keeps me going.
Yeah. And it's an awesome sport to get into. The
It is.
community's awesome, and I mean, you've been growing a lot. I've been keeping up with you for the last like year and a half, and you've definitely grown quite a bit. And
Yeah, it's been kind of a whirlwind of a few years. It's been pretty rapid. I think too for when we talk about like women and girls and fishing, there's a lot of opportunity for women and girls in the fishing space, I think. And I think I got in at a time where I realized that, and I hope more people realize that because there is truly like a lot of opportunity out here. Um, so yeah, it's been great. It's been a lot of fun. It's been busy, but yeah, the kayak community I cannot speak better about. I don't know enough. I wasn't immersed in the boating world as much to know, but I hear enough about how sometimes there can be differences. But as far as how welcoming people are, how much people talk, like even at Relaxed Retreat this past week, I was sitting there like, gosh, I wish every tournament was like this, where we're all staying together, we're all on the same grounds and fishing together and talking. Like that was like a dream come true. I had a blast doing all that.
yeah, and I actually talked with Chris after, and he said that they're looking to grow Relax to make it big enough to hold the entire field, so we're all in one place. And I feel like that'd be awesome
That would
because
be
it's already
awesome.
crazy having like I think it was he said 75 of the guys in
Yeah.
the field staying there, and it was like every night you get back from practicing, and next thing you know you're talking to like 15
Yep.
people at the same time. So it was
Yep.
awesome. But we did have a question pop up
Oh, I didn't even see
from
what the question
Joseph.
was.
It's gonna be, how would you advise someone starting to get into sponsorships and how to talk about the products? I worry sometimes about being too pushy and dealing with sponsors' expectations, etc.
Ooh, that's a good question. You want me to answer that one?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, I would say the best way to go about it is to pursue relationships with the products and the companies that you use. It is so much easier to have things come up organically when you're throwing those baits, when you're using those products. So if you have companies that you feel strongly about or that you want to work with, start with the content and posting and tagging them. They see that a lot of times, and it kind of puts you on their radar before any of those talks come about. So I think that's something that works for me. Is I'm probably pretty picky too in that aspect, because it is very hard for me to feel salesy or feel like I'm repping something that I don't believe in. It's just like you're building trust with your audience. So the minute that I feel like it's not authentic, like I've lost the whole plot there. So it's easier for me to throw, like Z-Man products and stuff, because I keep a chatterbait in my hand 24/7. It just comes up naturally without feeling like you're being pushy as they asked. So I think that's one way to go about it too. And then just do what you feel like is right for you. If you feel like, I guess, don't be afraid to say no. I know, especially in the beginning when you're having opportunities to work with different brands and stuff, it's very easy to want to accept everything that's coming at you, but you still have the ability to be selective where you can and do what makes sense for the type of platform that you have or the content that you want to do. And then as long as you're doing it the right way, I think it all kind of comes along.
Yeah, and like also Joseph, it definitely takes some time. You can't just push it right away. Like kind of what Kylie said, you can't just chase the opportunities as they come. If they don't fit, just kind of adapt and grow grow yourself, and then eventually, like I've had instances where companies reach out to me and I use their products, but I didn't feel like it was the right time for me to hop on with them, and I'd wait, and then the deals would actually get better as you kind of grew as an angler and all that good stuff. So,
Yep.
and then let's see. So you mentioned you're a solo mom. How many tournaments have you traveled to this year so far?
Um, Out of state, I did, I guess really out of state would be Santee and Caddo would be the ones. But
Are
with
those
Florida, I guess Seminole, I also did in January, which is part of it's in Florida, but it's like a good 5 hours for me. So I would consider that one out of state too. So those three. And then I did fish the Kissimmee Chain Bassmaster event too here, but that's like my backyard. So
yeah. And how do you kind of manage all that and traveling with the family, keeping
yeah,
fishing, and
it takes a village, I will say. And I, it would not be possible if I did not have help from family. So a big part of me moving to Florida was just to be closer to family. Um, I have a lot of family here, cousins, my parents live here, aunts, uncles, friends, you name it. So my parents being close is a huge help because they, are happy to have my son hang out with them when they come. They're happy to travel with me when they can and bring him so that I don't have to be away from him. Or if I can, like in this past week, we kind of made it a whole thing with his birthday where he was able to travel with me and made it, an experience that was for him too. So wherever I can, I will include him in that, and that helps. But it does take help. So I think family and the village that I have backing me in this has been, you know, the difference in actually being able to commit to some of these things, especially traveling. Because even if it's not tournaments, the Bassmaster workshops have been following some of the Elite Series events that requires travel. So I was in Santee 2 weeks before our event. Um, North Carolina next month, the Classic, all of that kind of bouncing around. So he's going to tag along to as many as he can. But other than that, it really is with the help of a village, and I'm super, super grateful for them.
and I felt like Steve-O and AJ did a really good job with that little check that they brought. It was like I signed that thing. I was like, this is awesome. If I was a nine
I
year old getting this,
I think no matter what you do as a parent, you could be doing everything right and feel like and be doing a good job, but you're still gonna feel like you're falling short somehow. So in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, gosh, I'm dragging him to my thing. Like I'm going to be fishing. Like how, is it really his birthday experience? Is this what he would choose to want to do? And the whole car ride back, he's just been like, this is the best birthday ever. He's got his check up in the room. He's like, there's like 200 signatures on here. And he thinks everybody's professional, which, I mean, like that's pretty much like our highest level, I guess, of kayak fishing that you can get. So yeah, I would argue that too. But to him, like everybody. He just like eats it all up with all the anglers there. So it was super special getting that. Josh Evans had given him some like custom hand painted baits that he's got like on his dresser. So it was super, super special. They were awesome for doing that and was probably a huge part of his excitement around that event for sure.
Yeah. And then you also mentioned that your dad got you into fishing. So did he
Yeah.
grow up fishing in Florida, or did they all move to Florida?
Yeah, so my dad's originally from Orlando. He grew up here. We spent the majority of my life in Georgia, ironically, like Marietta area where Dugout is. I just was not connected to the fishing world at the time. But like Lee Rose and I have like mutual friends from schools like around there. So my dad grew up fishing, just kind of like pond fishing, things like that, some saltwater fishing. He likes to saltwater fish, but always from the bank, never, bass fishing in particular, any sort of like boat fishing, things like that was never part of, I guess, our world. You know how people grow up in bass fishing families like they do football families. Mine was probably more of a football family. So fun fishing, but not at like a high level. So, yeah, pond. He's more than happy to fish all the ponds around us. He's probably doing that right now if he's not already up getting ready to come home. But every day after work, fishes. So I just kind of tagged along when I moved here. I didn't know how to tie the knot. I didn't know how to put the worm on the hook. I didn't know or want to touch the fish. I was being like that. And but we did catch a few bass, and then after that I was like, oh, let's go again. Let's go again. To the point where, I'm asking questions to him that he doesn't know the answer to. So now I got to find out for the both of us and then
Yeah.
going from there. So yeah, he loves to fish. I guess I got the bug from him. My brother likes to fish too, and it didn't click for me, I guess, until later years.
Yeah, and I feel like the kayak rig you got now after only fishing for 3 years is crazy. You kind of
I
want to
will
walk through.
say I laugh how when I talk to a lot of anglers and how they come up, like everyone's like, "Oh, I fished out of this. What's the one that starts with a P?
PWR,
No,
or
PWR. But it's like everyone fishes. I don't know why I want to say dolphin, but it's not a dolphin.
is it Sun Dolphin?
Yeah, like a sun dolphin and things like that. And like, or I remember paddling and doing this and that. And I can acknowledge that I got to skip a few of those experiences in the kayak world, which I'm kind of glad to. But yeah, the rig now, I don't think I could ask for more. It is like perfect for what I would want.
Because you're
So,
running an XTR, I think, with you got the Garmin motor on the back, right?
yep, I've got the Garmin motor. I do still have my native Titan X. So I have that one too. That one's got a Garmin motor on it as well. But yeah, lately I've been fishing out of the XTR with the Garmin motor, and that's been a game changer for sure.
How do you like the foot control aspect of it? Like, is it pretty sweet?
Oh yeah, the foot control is great. So typically with other motors, right, there's foot steering, like the Wizard foot steering I had before, which is good for steering, but you still have to use the throttle to control your acceleration and how much propulsion that you want. Your steering, the throttle, like your speed, forward and reverse, all of that is in the foot pedals, and they're completely wireless. So they're like Bluetooth connected to the motor. So I don't have to touch anything. Like you're completely hands free through all of it. I can kick it and put it into spot lock mode from the foot pedals. Like, and they're pretty sensitive in the way that like even little micro adjustments can get you moving in the direction that you would want to. You don't have to. You can make like the tiniest bit of adjustment. So I use the foot steering a lot. I do use the remote a lot too. It just kind of depends on, I guess, the style of fishing or where I'm headed on the lake.
Yeah, and how do you feel that spot lock works? Like, because it's a stern mount, so it's a little
Mhm.
bit differently than a bow mount. Does it still kind of hold position pretty well?
Yeah, it holds position really well. The difference would be that your bow is going to be facing with the wind. So typically with a bow mounted motor, you'd be like the wind would be coming at you. your bow is going to basically turn to be, so you're casting with the wind, so the wind's coming like behind you, but it keeps you in position really well. I will say too, if depending on position and where you're trying to fish, even if you're not in spot lock, it has a heading hold option, which basically keeps your bow facing in the direction that you want to. You can face the wind, put your heading hold on, and then just adjust the like number or amount of speed that you want to kind of counteract the wind, and it'll keep you like completely dialed going in either way. So you
Yeah.
could do both.
We just had a question pop up from Garen. He said, if y'all could fish or travel to anywhere in the country to fish a lake slash river, where would it be?
That's a really good question. Um, I will say I got to kick a few of those off. Caddo was one for me that I really wanted to get to. CNT's one that I wanted to get to. For me right now, smallmouth is something that I'm like dying to do. So I would love to like fish the Finger Lakes or go somewhere up north to catch some good smallie. So I would say somewhere up there. Like I'm gonna have serious FOMO when some of the girls go up for the Elite Series on the St. Lawrence River. That would be one. So somewhere up north for me for there.
You got to get up to Susquehanna. I live about an hour and a half from there, and it's unreal. The smallmouth there's a bunch of like fish in that 18 to 21 range swimming around, and
Mhm.
it's so much fun.
Yeah, I would love to be fishing the Susky. That
Yeah,
one is what, beginning of August, first weekend of August, I think.
I think it's August 1st and 2nd, if I'm remembering correctly, which is like the perfect time of year to hit it because it's either low and clear, which it's like a top water smash fest, like whopper
Yeah,
ploppers, buzz baits, all that good stuff. And then
that sounds so
if it
fun.
is up, it's just spinner baits, chatter baits, all kind of moving baits. So it's fun either way. But when it's low, everybody doesn't catch them as good. When it's high, everybody catches them. So it's like when it's high, it's like 89 inches will have you in like 105th place. Like it's
Oh
unreal.
god. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, that one's definitely
Joseph
on my bucket list for sure.
Joseph said, "Come to Quebec and fish." That's a
I
ways up
mean,
there.
I'll add it to the list somewhere. Who knows when? But yeah, there's a lot of places. That was a big part of me kind of pushing myself into some of these trails too, was to get away from some of these lakes and just like put myself on new water. I was able to fish a couple lakes in Georgia, so like that was different. And yeah, I think it's just kind of figuring out what makes every lake different and what works in different areas.
Because
Sometimes it's challenging, but all growing opportunities.
yeah, and you've been doing pretty good in Florida because I believe didn't you get second place at Seminole this year?
I did, yeah. We had the combined event with Georgia Bass Nation and Florida Bass Nation. I ended up getting second at Seminole, which is almost comical because I had the worst practice. Like, I have never felt truly so defeated in a practice. And that was the first time that I was spending like a full week of practice. I don't get to practice very much because, like, I got to work, it's time. I'm fishing Lake Placid this weekend. I couldn't tell you really a thing about it. I've never touched that body of water. And tournament morning will be my first time doing it. That's just how it works sometimes. But I will say with this one on Seminole, I had a full week. So I was like, oh, I'm going to do great at Seminole because I'll have so much time to figure out the water. Terrible time on practice. And I would say probably like the last 2 hours of practice on the last day, I figured out a little bit of a pattern. Like I left the group I was fishing with. I was like, I don't have scope. I'm not doing it. Like I didn't have any of that at that point. I was like, I'm just gonna go fish what I like to fish and throw around a chatterbait in shallow water. So I'm gonna go find a shallow flat, and that's what I did. And caught a few decent ones. And I was like, okay, well at least I should be able to catch a limit. Went back there and was 2 inches shy of first place, but that was still like monumental for me to bring home second place in that one. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and you mentioned the week of practice deal. So I just did that at Santee. Typically, for most of the big events in the summer, I'll do close to a full week of practice. And
Mm-hmm.
Santee was the first time I fished for an entire week on a fishery and not figured a single thing out. So it was a rough week, but I managed to pull out 85 and
That's
a
good.
decent finish. So I was proud of that.
Yeah, that's good. I feel like it's hit or miss sometimes because it's exhausting fishing that long, that many days in a row going into a tournament. Like it really is, it's a lot. So sometimes too, I feel like when you have too many options, it's even harder to make a decision or the right decision with knowing where to spend your time on tournament day. So I can get that. But no, you did well. I did not. But that's all
Yeah.
right.
Do you kind of want to dive into practice and how you
Yeah.
did in practice at Santee?
Yeah, so this was my first time at Santee and fishing that lake. So I think I my first day of practice was on Tuesday. So I had Tuesday through Friday to practice, which was like a pretty significant amount of time. The first day I spent more on the north end of Marion and caught numbers like a decent amount. Like I caught a decent amount of fish. Kind of figured out a pattern where in around like 4 to 6 foot of water, um, off the trees, I was able to catch them decently on like a chatterbait. There were some one-offs other ways, but I really was having a hard time up in the shallow parts of it getting a good bite there, which is usually what I focus on. So I kind of stayed off in that depth range. I did fish a day on the south end in when I got on Moultrie, it was clear as day where I was like
Mm-hmm.
clear as day, hydrilla. I was like, oh, it's over with. I think I saw 2 bass that day and caught one of them. And I know a lot of people spend a lot of time down there. I'd be so curious to know just so I could know, like learning wise, what and where they were and how they figured that out down there. But I spent a full day where I was there and like I was not on fish at all. So it was either do I keep trying to figure something out on the south end or do I expand on where I was catching them before? So then I kind of spent most of my time on more of the north end from there. A couple good ones. We had caught off some docks at like the last day. So it was like had a few choices. I ended up going with what I thought was my safe option, where 2 days of practice was able to catch them pretty decently to where not like tournament winning fish, but enough to have like a respectable bag.
Yeah.
So go there Saturday and like tight lipped, like they were just not biting. I was able to catch two. So then up and left in the middle of the day to try to go where the bigger ones were back at the docks and couldn't get them. You could see them, but they wouldn't bite. So I was just gonna fish all new water day two. That was my goal. I was like, I'm gonna leave out of relaxed and just go fish and catch a bag and just catch a limit and
Yeah.
didn't get the chance to, but I wanted to at least, even if it wasn't going to be a finish that I wanted, nothing that was like in the top part of the leaderboard. I don't like to leave a lake not figuring something out. Like it has to be for something. I want to figure out a pattern. I want to be able to have a better understanding of the lake. And that's what I was really hoping to do day two. So me and Santee definitely have unfinished business. I will have to get back up there to kind of pick around that lake some more and figure out, a better pattern. But it happens. Things change up sometimes the day of the tournament. And yeah, so I don't know. I don't know that I could have or would have done anything differently because I felt like it was the safest option with the information I have from practice, but it was tough. It was definitely a
Yeah.
tough one.
Did your water get super muddy up where you were at on the
It
northern end
did. It
on
just got
tournament
like
day?
dirtier and dirtier. Yep.
I was up there as well, and I had 10 trees that had clear water on them, and I wrecked them for like 30 minutes, and that was it for the rest of the day. So I should have packed up and moved out of there, but I stuck around because it was like kind of like what you were saying. I found some decent stuff. Like I could have. I thought 92 to like 97 wouldn't be like a crazy number, and that was not the case for tournament day. When the water got muddy, it got a little bit tough out there. I will
It
say
was,
that.
it was definitely tough. Did you catch any of them on the like quickie style baits?
I did on the lower end, on docks and on some shallow cypress trees, but once we went
Mhm.
up north, I couldn't get them to touch it because
Yeah.
there was so many more trees up there, and they were in like deeper water. They were in like 4.5 to like seven
Yep.
and a half foot. So it,
Yeah, that's what I figured too. So I yeah, most of them that I was getting, I was catching them just like I had like a tungsten Evo chatterbait that I was just kind of fishing off the bottom and got most of the bites that way.
yeah, and I feel like for me, I was gonna use this tournament to try and grow scoping a koiki because like it's been winning all these tournaments and this and that, and I was sitting there and I first day like 20 minutes into scope and I caught like three bass on some flooded timber in Jack's Creek off like right launched outside a
Mhm.
relaxed retreat and went out and broke my scope pole in 20 minutes, so it wasn't the most ideal. So I just like said, you know what, I'm throwing a chatterbait the rest of the week and a spinnerbait and that's
Wait,
it.
how did it break?
I hit there's a bunch of stumps
Oh yeah.
in Jack's as you're going out to the main lake, and I was just kind of motoring around looking for fish and I ended up smacking a stump and
Oh no.
broke the scope pole. So every time I try and scope at a tournament, it always breaks. So it's just my sign to just keep throwing a chatterbait.
Maybe it's not for you to scope in the tournament.
Yeah,
Yeah, I threw it on a couple times, but that's definitely been I'm new to having live scope on the kayak. So I don't get the opportunity to use it as much here as I probably would somewhere else just because we don't have the depth for it. I haven't played around with perspective mode too much, and when it's not bedding season, I don't know how valuable that is here. There are some people who will kind of go out in deeper water and scope out here too. It's just not something that I've spent enough time on. So I'll play around with it and I've practiced on some lakes, but for me, tournament wise, I don't think I would be doing myself a favor trying to focus on scope without having like the confidence in using it at this point. But it has been fun to play around with.
yeah, and it just opens up a whole new realm of like you can start up shallow and wait for your
Yeah.
fish to get up on brush piles and go out there and scope them after you catch a bag on a chatterbait.
Yeah.
I get a it's a little bit of a controversial question here, but are you big Evo or Jackhammer?
Ooh, do people typically like have like very strong opinions about either side?
A little
Um,
bit. I know quite a few people that got
I
some pretty
would
strong opinions.
say I that's very hard for me to choose. If I had to choose, I'm probably going jackhammer here. But I will say I alternate between the tungsten Evo, the regular jackhammer, and the baby jackhammer the most. Those are like the three that I, depending on the situation, depending on where I'm fishing, that I'm bouncing between and use the most. So of the Evos, tungsten Evo is definitely my favorite.
Yeah,
Which
the regular Evo just doesn't do it for me. The tungsten Evo, like I swear, it cuts through the grass a lot better than the full size like lead head Evo.
does, and it's very dense, so it's easier for me to keep it lower in the water column or wherever I want to put it in the water column. It kind of just stays there regardless of the speed that you're retrieving it, which I like. So if I'm trying to cover water very quickly, or if I'm fishing in deeper parts, I'm definitely going to use the tungsten Evo, just because it's so dense and sinks the fall rates really good. If you're looking to cut through grass, though, the baby jackhammer does that the best, in my opinion. Like if I'm really fishing in something that I'm trying to like not get caught up in the grass, I feel like that little blade just like slices right through it.
Yeah, I haven't messed around with them too much. I
Oh, they're so
bought a few and used them for smallmouth, and then I ran out of them and I never bought them again because I like could never catch a largemouth on them.
yeah.
Like I'd always have it like jumping out of the surface of the water because I fish all my chatterbaits on like a 8 2 to 1 or a 9 1 to 1, or
Okay.
even I actually have one set up that's a 10 10 1 to 1, and I
Why
just run
is that?
around it.
You just want to keep it going fast?
So I actually had somebody remind me at Santee about it's going back to like the scoping thing as well. So
Mhm.
like when you scope, what do you do with your bait? So like the fish sits there, do you work it over top of them or do you work it
Like
into
if you
them?
keep it right above them.
Yeah. So I think it was Abby told me he's like, yeah, you're supposed to keep it above their heads. So like if I'm running around, I need a fast gear ratio to keep it just flying by them. So it reminded me of that, and I got this new Cast King Mega Jaws that's been just
Oh,
absolutely killer for me,
mhm.
and it's been unreal with the chatterbait.
Huh. I would have to try it on a faster one. I don't think I've gone more than an 8 on
It's
as far as gear ratio for it. I typically will fish it either on like a 7 1 or like a 6 4. Like I'll go slower.
yeah,
Um, but it really just depends. I think too, here, like it's rarely more than 4 foot of water. So I think depth wise may change a little bit of that too. Um, but I will say, as far as like speed, the baby jack, you can fish slower, or I feel like I have more options in my retrieval because it just takes less water to get that blade to engage. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like jackhammer engages pretty quickly, but the baby jackhammer will engage even faster because it just takes a little bit less water displacement to get that one kicking. So I feel like I can fish it slower than I can some of the other ones. So it really just depends, but I'm gonna have to try that. But yeah,
Yeah.
I typically will sit around like a 7, 7, 1, 1.
Yeah. Do you fish that baby jack on lighter line, or do you keep it on some heavy? Do you do braid fluoro? What's your go to?
Depends on where I'm fishing. Braid to fluoro usually, or like 17-pound fluorocarbon overall fishing it. But I don't necessarily change what line I'm using when fishing it for the most part. It just depends. If I'm fishing it in heavier grass, though, I'll do braid to a fluorocarbon leader.
Yeah. I haven't explored that braid to fluoro as much. Like typically I'll go I think 17 to 20 pound fluoro, but in Tennessee where I fish primarily when I'm down at school, there's a lot more clearer water like Dale Hollow and all those
Yeah.
lakes, and I'll have to go down to like 12 to 14 with a half ounce or 3/4 ounce
Yep.
jackhammer and run around. But it's like I don't know. When I go to Florida, I always just put 20 on because I'm like between the bowfin
Safe. Yeah.
and like the grass and all this. The reeds. The reeds were bad for me. I think it was a Harris Chain event, Hobie BOS, a couple of years ago. It was an absolute nightmare for me. I lost like 3 fish that were like 7 pounders
Oh,
on
I believe it. Yeah.
it's swimming the
Feel like
reeds and just
I
break
have
me off.
to go heavy and use braid in order to like really keep them pinned, or to counteract how much grass or how much weight you got to put behind pulling them out of whatever they're in, because they'll be like deep in the pencil reed. So yeah, I'll usually go and use straight braid in those instances. But I
Okay.
think it's like depends.
Yeah, and then I kind of want to. I got a couple questions for helping the newer anglers out there. So your platform is kind of based on making fishing a little bit less intimidating for newer anglers. What are some barriers that kind of stop people from getting started with fishing?
Um, I think it's a few things. Sometimes I think when you look at fishing or like bass fishing as a whole, there's so many different ways to do it. You have people that fish different types of baits. There's people that fish different, prefer finesse fishing. You got all these different rods. We're talking about all these different gear ratios and rod types. And I think it can just be overwhelm the different complexities that come into bass fishing. So almost trying to scale that down in a way that's like, where do you start and what do you actually need? I think too, sometimes it can seem like to be effective in fishing, it requires being really expensive, which I think for you and I probably is really expensive
Yeah,
because what we're doing, but it doesn't have to be. And then I think too, just feeling like it's hard to come into any space, regardless of the sport or the activity, and feel like you're not doing it well. I think that's definitely something that was hard for me too, of just feeling like I'm not I'm not succeeding in it when really it is just a matter of learning. So I think accessibility is one thing, and for me too, as much as I love the tournament scene, I do that for me because I like to be competitive. But that's not the case for everybody. That's not the reality for a lot of people. So like whatever fishing looks like, if it's fun fishing, if it's fishing so your kids can learn, if it's, trying to do something with your partner to connect with your dad, or just to have a new hobby or find peace on the whatever it may be, um, just making it seem as accessible or as approachable as possible, because it can really, there's so many nuances to fishing, and it can be intimidating. It can be a lot. Feeling
yeah,
like you have to have every type of bait, you have to have all these different rod setups and reels, and you can start much smaller and be able to still be effective on the water.
yeah. And then we had a question from Clay. He said, "What rods are you using?" I think it's going back to the chatterbait stuff.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah. So I throw arc rods. So for me, I'll typically, for a chatterbait, go anywhere. Like a sweet spot for me would be like a 7.3, 7.4, um, medium heavy, moderate fast action rod is like my go-to for those. Um, Pretty much across the board, that's what it would be. 7.3,
Yeah.
7.4, medium heavy, moderate.
Are you a big like composite blank or just straight graphite blank?
It depends. I have some of both. I think most of them are like straight graphite blanks. The one of my favorites though is the Invoker Tour series, and that's
Mm-hmm.
like the crispiest rod I think that I own. Is like my favorite for chatterbait fishing, and it's definitely a good one. So
Yep. And then kind of going back to social media side of things. So I've seen a couple of videos from you like going through how to break a pond apart in like 15 minutes or 10 or 15 minutes. I can't remember. What's up, Steve-O? Steve-O just hopped on.
oh,
He just, I felt so bad for Steve-O. We were all talking to him after
yeah,
we went fun fishing on the second day when it was canceled, and everybody that was giving him crap for it, I'm like, it was the right call out there. I mean, it's none of us are trying to die for kayak fishing, so I feel like
no, it's not worth it. And you have a large range of people who are very experienced on the water, but you have some people that are not, and what is comfortable to some people is not to everybody. And I think you almost have to play on the safe side. I couldn't imagine that's a very, very tough position to be in, having the opinions of everybody else and what they want to do. Because obviously we want to fish, but that's why people like him are put in their positions they are to make the best decision for the field. And um, yeah, I totally trust that. I think from a safety standpoint, it's probably the best thing to do. And from what I hear, wind on Santee is a different ball game than it is in some other places. What seems like manageable mile-an-hour winds there is much more uh, felt on Santee
yeah.
than in some other places. So um, yeah, I would hate for
I mean,
and
it's such a
and everything. Like, yeah, there was two people who flipped the day
yeah,
one. I couldn't
yeah.
imagine day two. So I get it.
And I feel like Santee, it's just such like a long lake. Like you get 5 miles an hour worth of wind, no matter what way it's blowing. You got 2 or 3 footers somewhere in the lake, and
Yeah.
it's crazy. But also, I had another question. So you mentioned that you work with Bassmaster. Kind of walk us through what you do with them, how you get women into the sport of fishing, and kind of growing.
Yeah, so Bassmaster is a program or community that was really just created to get women and girls excited about fishing. So um, we have a few ambassadors. So it's myself, Christine Fisher, Anastasia Patterson, and Maggie Jo Carcello that kind of lead the program in a sense of just representation of anglers that are doing different things in the sport at different levels and in different capacities. But really is just trying to get women and girls excited about fishing, however that looks. So there are more, I would say, every year, like women and girls that get into fishing than ever, but the gap is still significant. Like if we look at the percentage of how many there were even in the Bassmaster Kayak Series, like it is very minimal, the amount, and that's just the reality of it. So how do we get more people excited about it in a way to know that this is an opportunity for them, to know that the space is available for them, and to have another community of people that they can talk to and lean on and learn from. When we have the Bassmaster workshops, my favorite part is hearing the different stories of people and why they're there and what they like to fish and what fishing is becoming or has become for them. And as we're talking, so and so realizes that they're neighbors and they both fish the same lake, and now they're leaving with a fishing partner and a fishing buddy. And it's just a really good space to not separate women at all, but almost just to kind of like bring them into the space that's already here and made for them. So it's been really excited. We've got lots of like high school girls and young girls that were at the last one that are way ahead of where I would have been at that age fishing. So it's been really positive seeing a lot of women and girls excited about the sport in a way that, you know, gets them into it, whether it's competitive or however they want to fish.
Yeah, and then tying into this, like, what advice would you give to some ladies out there trying to get into fishing like kayak tournaments, but they're like scared to get out there and sign up for their first one.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to think like for me what the most intimidating part coming into it. I would say fishing in a competitive level to start with, almost fish against yourself, if that makes sense. So how you do in one event, just continue to try to build off of that. So rather than feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm in last place in this tournament, were you able to catch a limit? How many were you able to catch? What pattern were you able to figure out? And kind of keep it within yourself. I think too, it's hard when you feel like you're the first or one of the only ones that's doing it too, because you feel like there's more attention on what you're doing. I promise people are not paying as much attention to how you finish as you think people are. Um,
And
I'm
I
sure
feel
you
like,
talk about where you've fallen on the leaderboard so many times, and I'm not remembering where you finished in Cato. I have
yeah,
no idea. So um, people are not paying as close attention as you think. And then two, just rely on people that are already in the space. So I have done that a ton. Like I have had to rely on the expertise or like the advice that I've gotten from people who have been in the industry longer than me, whether that's with brand deals and sponsorships or just hey, avoid the north end of the lake because it's super topped out or something like that. So don't be afraid to like make connections with people who are fishing in the same space as you too. And I will say more often than not, they will be more than willing to help or provide something to kind of give you a leg up wherever we can.
yeah, and I feel like even nowadays with a lot of the sponsors, like yes, they pay attention to like results in a tournament, but like a lot of companies that I work with look at kind of how you bounce back. Like you
Yeah.
get a real bad tournament, and it's like next thing you know, it's like boom, top 10, cashing a check. Like
Yep.
that's a big part of like, and for me especially being a younger angler out there, like just sticking to it, never giving up, kind of like you said, and just constantly on that grind of like, I didn't do well at this tournament doing this, like throwing a chatterbait. I'm gonna go throw a chatterbait for like the next 5 trips out on the
Right.
water and like mix it into the lineup and yeah,
Yeah. It can definitely, you just have to keep pushing, learn from the last event, the last thing you did. It's just there's never all information on the water is good information. I fished a whole day on the south end and was able to write off a spot where I was fishing. So even though it was a day of not catching fish, it was eliminating water in a sense. So just trying to look at everything as a positive. Yeah, like
yeah,
Blake said, fall down
yeah,
7 times, stand up 8. That's the ticket right there.
yeah. And Blake's an amazing guy to be around at all times. Like he'll give you all the confidence boosting you need. Like if you're having a rough practice or a rough day, just talking with Blake after the fact is just a blessing. Like
Yeah.
he's such an amazing guy.
He is like his energy is infectious. You want to talk about seeing someone at the boat ramp and just like turning around how you feel about your day, like night and day. And when we're talking about people who have kind of welcomed you into the space, Blake was a huge one for me in Fish and Florida Bass Nation, and just um, really, I feel like embraced me coming into that trail and coming into the sport. And I'm very, very grateful for the impact he has on the fishing community, but just even at a friend level, he is a very great person to know here in the
Yeah.
space.
And my mom said that she loves what you're doing as a role model for other women and girls in the sport of fishing. So,
Oh, thank you so much. Tell her to
uh,
come to a Bassmaster workshop.
I'm trying to get her out. Like I used to travel with my parents all the time. Like when I first started out, and then now it's like I'm just running around all over the country by
Yeah,
myself, and I truly miss it because it's kind of like you and your dad, like going out and just fun fishing in a pond. Like I wish I could do that. Like my dad used to come fish with me out in the Chesapeake Bay, which is
yeah,
a home body of water, and it used to be a blast. And now I just kind of am always on the road or at work, one of
I
the two.
get
So,
it. Yep.
but I got a couple of like fun closing questions to
Yeah,
kind of go through. So
let's do it.
you've done a lot of bank fishing. You've been a co-angler, and then you've also kayak fished for a couple of years now. So what's your top pick of the three, and why is that?
Ooh, kayak fishing is going to be the top of my list. I think Nothing. One, the independence aspect of being able to be on these larger bodies of water and figure them out and pick apart water is like truly been a game changer in the angler that I've become and still becoming. It's given me a lot of confidence in figuring out things on my own. So also kind of like being level with the water and being as close as you can with that, like that experience is unmatched in my opinion with kayak fishing. Second to that would probably be fishing from the bank. I don't care what I'm doing. They could put me in a boat one day and I'll fish the opens maybe in a few years, from now and 10 years, who knows. But I will still find time to fish from the bank. I have to. I love to. It is still so fun. I did it yesterday. And so that I think because that's how I got into fishing, it's always going to hold a very special place in my heart. And luckily, living in Florida, you have access to bodies of water everywhere. So there's opportunities for that, whether you have 30 minutes or 4 hours to fish. So,
Yeah,
um,
I was gonna say like Florida is one place that you can't go down there and not go fish a couple ponds and a couple little lakes from the bank because it's you can really catch some giant fish that you can't catch any other way.
oh, you can't. And there's potential for, I have the potential to break my PB every pond that I set foot in. Like one of the honey holes that my dad and I fish is in the neighborhood. He's caught a 9 pounder out of there. We caught a 6 and a 5 yesterday out of a pond that we don't normally fish. I watched a 9-year-old catch a 10 pounder out of an apartment complex pond. Like it's really, it's not that it's so easy to do, but the opportunity is there a lot more than a lot of places. And you can't beat that.
Yeah,
Oh, sir.
there he is.
There he is.
Yeah,
You want to say hi? Sure. This is Jordan. On the hi.
how's it going?
Good.
You happy with that check you got at the?
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. I was like I was going through signing it and I was like, there's no more room to sign this check in there.
Now he's about to try to find your name on there. Oh, wait, let me see. You let me know when you find Jordan Lovejoy.
Okay.
I think I'm in the bottom right corner. I think I
What's
remember.
your last name?
He said he likes your last name.
Yeah, it's awesome, and I love and enjoy fishing, so it's pretty cool.
Perfect. Or I think about like Christine Fisher. Like it doesn't get any better than that. Like that is no question on what you're supposed to do.
Yeah,
It
and
does just.
then the next question I got is, besides a chatterbait, what's one bait that you always have tied on?
Besides a chatterbait, one bait that I always have tied on. I mean, always like a Texas rig of some sort. So like a Cinco, you can't. You have to have. Other than that, probably a Big Easy.
Yeah, I gotta get on that. Like, you can't out Florida the Florida guy or girl, so it's like I always gotta sit there and be like, I'm not throwing a big easy because I'm gonna get my butt kicked, but I want to try it out one of these
Oh, you
days.
gotta do it. You can do it for sure. You gotta have a Big Easy on. It's a
And
staple.
then, what's your favorite fishery in the country so far that you've been to?
Uh, Favorite fishery. That's really hard. I would say I want to say Seminole because I had such a great time there and had such a good finish there. But as far as the overall experience of like catching fish, views, location, all of that, like Caddo was beautiful. Like that was kind of unreal fishing on
Yeah.
that body of water. So that's on the top of my list right now, I think too.
How early did you get down to Caddo in the week? Were you like,
I got to Caddo. It's a very good question. Feels like it was last year at this point. I want to say probably Tuesday or Wednesday. Ewing will never out Florida the Florida native. Yeah.
he said that's why we throw rigs in Florida. I think he's
A
going
rigs
back
in
to the
Florida.
city. Uh, but Caddo, like, I want to go fun fish Caddo because it's like if
Yeah.
you get there like a couple of days before the majority of the field gets there, it is so much fun. Like, you just catch
bet.
big fish everywhere.
Hmm. Yeah, Caddo was
That's
a lot of fun. It was stunning too. Like
and there
that
wasn't
was
as many alligators as there was at Santee. Santee was
no.
packed of
You know
alligators.
what's so funny though? I didn't see that many alligators. I saw one big one and a couple small ones, but like the last event that I fished in Florida, I think was Lake Garcia. Um, I probably saw 50 alligators that day. Like they were
Jeez.
everywhere. So I maybe I'm just immune to it, or I'm desensitized to the gator stuff. So seeing just like two or three, I was like, oh, that's not so bad.
Yeah,
I hear the temperament of Santee alligators can be a little different, so I definitely have my eyes peeled, but I didn't see that many.
yeah, I feel like it was for me. It's always different at Santee. It's like you go up in the swamp and you're like tucked up way up in these trees, and you see like a 12-footer, and you're like, I can't really easily get out of here. I'm like, what should I do? And it just gets
Yep.
closer and closer, and it kind of sketches me out. But throughout the week, I kind of got more accustomed to it and just
Yeah.
realized that they're everywhere. I just got to deal with it. So
Yeah. Just deal with it. It's the snakes that I don't like to see. I did see a few snakes there too, and I don't like that.
yeah, I actually had the. I wish I had it uploaded in here and I could play it for everybody. But one day in practice, I think it was Wednesday, I was up in the swamp and I'm like going through all these trees and I hear this crunching noise next to me, like something was chewing on something. And I come around this tree, there's like a 6 foot water moccasin or cottonmouth or
Oh,
copperhead, whatever, chewing on a catfish. And I was like, yeah, I'm about to post it on my.
you have to post it. I gotta see that. When I took, there's some things that will send me into a full crash out. That would probably be one of them.
Yeah, I
The
was not a
bowfin are
fan.
a close second. I do not like catching the bowfin.
Yeah, I
But
just.
that is crazy. Snakes I don't like. I would rather an alligator over a snake.
Yeah, and you caught some giant bowfin at Santee. I mean, it
The
was crazy.
biggest bowfin I've seen, the biggest gar that I've seen in the water, like seeing them swim around, I've never seen gar that big. But yes, unfortunately, the bowfin were enjoying the chatterbait, and I caught quite a few giant ones.
Yeah,
It's always
I,
that second of like, is it a bass? And if it is, this is a giant bass. And then the disappointment that comes immediately after of no, it is not in fact a bass.
yeah. Well, I think that kind of covered everything that I wanted to talk about. So I'm gonna have you let them know where they can find you out on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube, any of that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's at Bait Barbie Fishing on all socials. So that's going to be Instagram, TikTok. I guess Facebook's under my name, Kylie Short, and then YouTube would be at Bait Barbie Fishing as well. So yeah, all over on any of those. So I would say as far as daily stuff, Instagram more so, but I've got a lot of long form stuff to catch up on too for YouTube. So I'm excited to get some of that out.
Yeah, I got some podcast stuff to catch up on from
Yeah,
last week.
the
I
podcast
filmed.
is cool though. I like it. You got a good
Yeah,
setup.
yeah, it's been a blast. Last week it was just tough to kind of manage everybody's schedule at Relaxed
Yeah.
Retreat, so I just was like, I'm gonna let everybody do their thing and just get to them like a couple weeks after, and
Yeah.
because I like going live. I pre-recorded one episode and I actually didn't post it in time, so no Ewing and everybody who I said's getting a full cast Koike is not getting a full cast Koike. So,
Oh no.
but yeah. Uh, so guys, thank you so much for watching. But stay tuned for the next couple weeks. I got a bunch of people lined up to be on the show. I'll kind of drop them periodically, but stay tuned for that. And thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you too, Kylie, for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was fun.